Hey guys, it's your girl T, and it's time for another recap of Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, aka The Bold and the Ratchet, because this shit is getting more and more ratchet as the weeks go on. So let's go ahead and get this recap started. So in the opening scene, we have nagging ass Nia, and once again, she's meeting with Morgan, and she's crying because she hasn't gotten a chance to talk to Soulja Boy. She sent him a text message, and in response, he didn't reply, he just blocked her on Instagram. Yeah, I'm so over their storyline. I seriously am buying the storyline. I believe that she just came on this show looking for a check. I'm so over her storyline. I'm so over her tears. She annoys the hell out of me. Her voice annoys me. Everything about her just annoys the shit out of me. And you can tell that she also annoys the shit out of Morgan too. Because Morgan's looking around like, I wish Mona Scott would yell cut. Because I'm ready to go. You know, so I just find the whole thing funny. If Soulja Boy really cared about her, if he really cared about being in a relationship with her, the first thing he would do is call her if he was that concerned about the miscarriage, not go on to Twitter and Instagram and block her instantly. So for him to do that, it tells you that she's a crazy ass bitch. Moving on to the next scene. In the next scene, we have Hazel E, and Hazel E's meeting up with her music producer, Doc, or her manager, whoever he is to her. She's basically washed her hands of Young Berg. She's pissed off about everything that went down at his all-white affair and how he disrespected her from Masika. But she's like, you know what, I'm Hazel E, I'm a bad bitch, I can rap, I don't need his tracks, fuck his tracks, I got Doc, I got a lot of people behind me, I used to be a publicist in the industry. And so she's like trying to pump herself up, and we're just like, nobody cares. We just don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, Hazel E, all you do is cry. Time and time again, you just sit there and cry. Anyway, so she's in the studio, she's talking to her producer, and Doc is telling her, being that you and Tia Marie was so close that you live with her, maybe you should meet up with Tia Marie and try to, you know, work on y'all's friendship. So Hazel E tells him, you know what, I think you're right. I think I'll do that. I will hit up Tia Marie and hopefully we can meet and, you know, mend everything and become friends again. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, we have Tia Marie and Little Fizz. She claims that they're really good friends, even though up until now we've never seen them in a scene together. But she says she's known Little Fizz since his days in B2K, and he wants to hook Little Fizz up with one of her friends. So we think that Tia Marie's gonna hook up Little Fizz with a whole new friend, somebody that we've never seen before. So they end up meeting up, they go to this park, and lo and behold, the friend turns around, even though we recognize that ass, and it's Miss Nikki Baby. Basically, Tia Marie's caught herself hooking up Little Fizz and Miss Nikki Baby, and Little Fizz is like, oh my god, her body is crazy, like boom, clack, boom, boom. And I'm like, boy, calm down. You can't handle that stallion. You can't handle all that meat. Little Fizz is like 5'5", 135 pounds, soaking wet. Boy, bye. You know what I mean? So Nikki's just sitting there looking like, of all the people, Tia Marie, Little Fizz, but she don't care. She just wants to rebound for Molly Mal. So she's, you know, talking to him, and she's telling Little Fizz about, you know, her family's fortune and how her family owns strip clubs. And basically, she's a pampered princess, and that she's upset about Masika being on the billboard for her family's club. And I'm like, why is she telling Little Fizz all this like he gives a fuck? And Little Fizz is like, well, you're way prettier than her. You should be on the billboard. And then once he says that, all of a sudden she's boosted. She's in love with him, and she starts seeing stars. And now she wants to be with him because he's entranced by her beauty. Nikki don't have several seats getting boosted off of that weak ass game that Little Fizz is spitting to her. And then Little Fizz basically tells Miss Nikki Baby that he likes her a lot and that he wants to take her out on an official date without Tia Marie being there. And Miss Nikki Baby agrees. It's like these cast members don't waste no time moving on. And it seems to me that Little Fizz is once again looking for a mama for his son. Little Fizz is going to get enough of bringing any and everybody around his son Cameron. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene, we have Moniece. And Moniece is calling herself trying to sing. And she's talking with her cousin. Her cousin is cute as hell. She says that her cousin was on The Voice and that he's a singer and he does like a lot of training and vocal training for people. But lucky for her broke ass, her cousin is willing to work with her for free. So anyways, they're sitting there talking, and she's telling her cousin about all her struggles with Little Fizz, and you know how she lost custody of Cameron, but she's trying to be in his life, and you know everything that she's going through. And the cousin's like, you know what, you need to make some type of plan. It's like you're going from place to place. You know, one minute you're with your mom and dad, then you're with your roommate. You need to get some stability. What are your plans? So she says in the next 5 years, she sees herself selling out of all her dildos. You know, she wants her dildo line to just, you know, skyrocket. She assumes it's going to beat out even, I guess, bedroom candy. So she wants her dildo lines to sell out. She sees herself going out on tour, having a #1 album, being on the Billboard 100s. And I'm like, this bitch needs to grow up. First of all, a real mother would say within the next 5 years, I want to have a home in our apartment. I want to have a car. I want to have my son in my life. I want us to have joint custody. This bitch's 5-year plan is to sell out of dildos and tour the world. Really? I'm going to need Moniece to get her life. Moving on to the next damn scene. So the next scene we have Ray J. And Ray J is going to meet with another member of the Norwoods. It seems like every single week for the past 2 weeks, a member of the Norwood family done popped up to check Ray J. 2 weeks ago was his daddy. Then last week it was his mama. And now it's his big sister Brandy. So Brandy's there and she had this hair full of weave and she was looking fabulous, honey. I was like, work, bitch, work. I love me some Brandy. She was playing the big sister role. She had to pull rank on Ray J. Ray J was sounding all sad and whining. He's like, I don't understand. I feel like all these girls are turning against me. Princess is listening to Morgan. Morgan is running her mouth. Tia Marie's driving me crazy. And Brandy's like, little bro, you keep talking to the wrong type of women. You keep finding yourself in the same situation. This don't make no sense. You need to start figuring this out. Like, Brandy's telling Ray J the truth, you know what I'm saying? It's like he's always in the mix of some bullshit. She's like, you need to cut off your little inner circle because it seems like all these girls are doing are telling your business. They're putting your business out there too much and it don't make no sense. So Ray J's like, you know what? I think she's telling the truth. She knows what she's talking about. Brandy's like, you need to talk to Princess and get in her ear before Morgan and everybody else does because it's obvious that Princess is also running her mouth. And I'm like, thank you, Brandy, for pulling rank and showing your brother what he needs to see because it seems like he's walking around with blinders on. He can't realize that half these women in his life, they're all being messy, including Princess. Moving on to the next scene. On the next scene, we have our favorite couple, April and Amarion and baby Mega. And you can tell, that it's been a lot. April's still tired. She's upset because she feels like she didn't get anywhere with her mom. Her mom broke down crying but really didn't tell her anything. And Omarion being the voice of reason, Omarion's like, you know what, just give her some time. Give her a chance to basically, come to terms with everything. You can't expect her to just change overnight. That's what I like about Omarion. And he's sitting there brushing his teeth and she's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm making my pearly whites pearly. And I'm like, Omarion is such a cute little cornball. Like, he's just a trip. Fatherhood looks good on Omarion. It's like he's really happy. He's in this relationship. And then they start talking about being intimate. And he's like, you got to wait 6 weeks. But April's like, she wants some of that uncircumcised peen right now. And he's like, well, I don't know. I don't want to bust your stitches. But you can give me some head. And I'm like, these two and their intimacy is just too much for television. It's like they just have no chill. And they just talk about anything. And they just talk about anything and everything concerning their sex life. I'm like, I can't with Omarion and April. Moving on to the next scene. And Little Fizz is basically telling Miss Nikki Baby about his baby mama drama and how Moniece is kind of crazy and she's been messing up his relationships. And the only thing she has going for herself is these heated dildos that she's trying to sell. And then that Amanda keeps cheating on him. And Miss Nikki Baby's like, damn, you got a lot of drama. I don't know if I'm down for that. And so then all of a sudden Little Fizz is like, well, I have a son. How do you feel about that? And Miss Nikki Baby's like, that's all right. I don't have no kids, but that's cool if you have a kid. He's like, because I need a woman in my life that can be there for me and my son. And I'm sitting here like, once again, this fool is steadily looking for a mother for his son. Every woman is not worthy of being a mother to your child. It's like, stop, trying to find somebody to mother your child and just take care of your child. And when the time is right, the correct woman will come into your life. But you can't force it on anybody. The whole situation to me is a trip. And then once again, he's talking about, Miss Nikki Baby's body and how he likes her shape and he likes her body and she's all boosted. And I'm sitting here like, Miss Nikki Baby, if your dumb ass don't wake up, first of all, the only thing that Little Fizz wants from you is some ass, some throat, and a babysitter. And Little Fizz better wake up and realize that if he don't know no better, he gonna fuck around and have Nikki watching his son and she gonna mess around and watch his son like this. How you doing? To me, Nikki's a different caliber type of girl. Nikki comes for money, and Little Fizz ain't had a hit since B2K. You know what I mean? And yesterday what was so crazy is Amanda and Moniece got into it on Twitter. And Amanda basically said that Little Fizz is broke. He sleeps with a bunch of roaches and ants and he stays with his mama. And that he's not holding like that. So I don't see this whole situation with him and Miss Nikki Baby lasting. Because Miss Nikki Baby's used to dudes who have money. Regardless of what we say about Molly Mall and how crazy he looks and how selfish and arrogant he is. Molly Mall is not broke. He do got money. And I see that type of dude being more Nikki's type as opposed to her and Little Fizz. They just don't make a good match. Little Fizz needs him a homegrown girl who don't really got a whole lot of money, who's just boosted to be with an ex-B2K member, because Nicki's not that chick. She can get her choice of ballers. Moving on to the next scene. On the next one, we have Soulja Boy. And Soulja Boy claims that he's hurt that Nia would text him about a miscarriage as opposed to calling him. So he decides to call Nia and tell Nia to come down to the studio so they can talk. And he wants to apologize to her about blocking her on social media. So Nia gets there, you know, with her whiny ass. And, you know, Soulja Boy's like, you know, I just feel like sometimes you don't respect me enough. You know, why would you send me a text message like that? I'm in Brazil trying to enjoy myself. I'm working, trying to bring home the bacon. And then you texting me about a miscarriage, and then you coming at me like I don't care. Like, why wouldn't I care? That's my baby too. That's my seed. Of course I'm gonna care. And Nia's like, well, I just feel like, you know, you're more worried about your career than you're worried about me. And he's looking like, of course I'm worried about my career. You knew what this was when you signed up for this. You know that I'm an artist and I'm traveling the world and I'm doing all these concerts. And while he's talking, I'm like, well, when was his last hit? When was his last album? Like, who was booking Soulja Boy? Who's bringing him to Brazil? I can see if he was doing clubs in Atlanta, but who is flying him? What concert is he involved in? I'm like, is this all for the show? Because I haven't heard nothing from Soulja Boy besides him tweeting on Twitter. I haven't heard nobody saying, I'm going to the Soulja Boy concert. Have you heard that new Soulja Boy song? The last song I even heard that was somewhat of a hit, but it wasn't really a hit, was a song that he did with Nicki Minaj. That, yes, bitch, yes, that song. Other than that, you don't really hear nothing from Soulja Boy, so I don't know. But it seems like he's trying to inflate his career more than what it is, and Nia's just feeding up into that shit. And basically, you know, she feels like, you know what, they might need a break because this is just too much. She doesn't know how to handle this. Her feelings keep getting hurt, and she's tired of Soulja Boy, you know, basically treating her like she's not important to him. And Soulja Boy's like, well, I don't know what else to tell you, but we're going to have to figure out some things. So Nia ends up leaving the studio heartbroken. Nothing was once again resolved, and after 8 years, you need to move the fuck on. And after these so-called 8 years of dating Soulja Boy and Deandra and whoever else you've been dating, I suggest you move on because, girl, he's just not that into you. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next scene we have Hazel E. Hazel E decides to meet up with Tierra, and the girls decide to meet up on a park bench and have a heart-to-heart conversation about everything that went down with their friendship. You know, and they're teary-eyed. Mainly Hazel E is teary-eyed though. Tierra's kind of just looking. And Hazel E's like, you know, I just want to apologize. You were right about everything. And Tierra Marie was like, yeah, I told you that Berg did not have your best interest at heart, and all he was doing was playing you. And Hazel E's like, you know what, I understand that now. I just want us to go back to what we had. I want us to be friends. And Tia Marie's like, you know what, I can be cool with that. I think we can be friends again. And then Hazel E decides to give her an ultimatum. And Hazel E's like, well, the only way that we can be really friends again is if you bag working with Young Berg, if you leave him alone, don't let him produce on your track. And Tia Marie's looking like, bitch, this is my career, my money. I'm not about to let you mess up nothing that me and Young Berg have going on. Like, that's silly. Why would I stop working with him because I'm friends with you? So then, you know, Tia Marie's just disgusted that Hazel E would even ask her that, and she gets up and storms out. Hazel E ends up breaking down and crying on the bench. Now, first of all, I'm going to need Hazel E to stop listening to Drake's No New Friends and go out and go find some new friends. Because obviously friends like Tia Marie, Masika, Young Berg, these people are not your real friends. They have no problem shitting on you, you know what I'm saying, using you for what you're worth and moving the fuck on. You know what I mean? I think that Hazel E needs to find a whole new group of friends who really care and want to be her friend, because these people are not real friends to her. And she needs to stop crying and trying to hang on to the past. Get rid of those old friends and go find you some new friends. Moving on to the next scene. So in the next one we have Moniece and Lil Fizz. And Moniece decides to come and talk to Lil Fizz. She says she's been going to counseling to get anger management. She's not as angry anymore. And Lil Fizz is like, I'm not trying to hear all that shit. I'm not your counselor. What do you want? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm tired of you bad-mouthing me in the blogs and making it seem like I'm physically violent with you. And Moniece is like, well, I didn't say that you did that in the blogs. I just feel like we argue a lot. We get into a lot. And Lil Fizz was like, regardless of that, you know what I'm saying, you had no business going to the blogs and saying anything. And Moniece is like, you know what, I'm trying to get myself together for my son. You know what I'm saying, I have all these goals. I'm ready to get my dildo line off the ground. And Lil Fizz is like, how are you so worried about your dildo line, but yet and still you don't even have custody of your son. You don't even take care of your son. You don't even have a home for your son. And I'm like, okay, Lil Fizz, go ahead and preach now, because I'm thinking the same thing too. From my living room, she keeps talking about this damn hot dick line, but yet and still she ain't said shit about making her son a hot plate. It's like this girl just makes no sense to me. It's like her priorities are just so all over the place. And so then she's like, okay, fine, you have custody of our son. Okay, fine, you're a good father. Do you want a cookie? And then Lil Fizz is like, yes, I do want a cookie. Where is that? And I was just cracking up. I'm like, Little Fizz is a mess. Obviously, Moniece was not expecting him to take her up on that cookie offer, but she had no damn cookie to offer Little Fizz. So because she didn't have no cookie, they start arguing and getting into it as they're walking down the street. Moniece gets mad. She ends up storming off. Little Fizz ends up walking away, and nothing gets resolved. Moving on to the next scene. So in the last and final scene, this was the scene we were all waiting for all night. So in the next scene, we have Ray J. He decides to cook this really nice dinner, and he decides to invite Princess over so that way they can eat and talk by the pool. So Ray J is talking to her in this passive-aggressive, weird voice, and he's like, I've gone to counseling, and you know, I'm learning to put my anger aside and not get so upset. I'm like, where the fuck did that voice come from, Ray J? And Princess is like, okay, well, what's the problem? And he's like, you know what, I don't want you to be friends with Morgan. I feel like you're running your mouth about me to Morgan. You're telling Morgan my business, and then somehow it's going back to Tia Marie, and it's not Tia Marie's business. And I'm trying to remember everything I learned in anger management class because I don't want to go off on you, Morgan, or Tia Marie. And I'm like, Ray J, can you just talk regular, please? Like, really? So I'm just cracking up, and you know, Princess is looking at him like, what the fuck? I don't care. So then Princess tells him, like, you know what, at the end of the day, you introduced me to Morgan. Me and Morgan are friends, and why should I have to cut her off for you? And Rachel's like, what? You're my girl. You know what I'm saying? You met Morgan via me. If I'm asking you to cut her off, then you cut her off. And Princess is like, no, I'm not going to cut her off. And then she says some flip. I thought I heard something about her. I thought I heard her say something about Floyd Mayweather. And then all of a sudden, Ray J gets up and is like, you know what? This is some bullshit. You got to go. And then Princess starts grabbing wine and just starts throwing it in Ray J's face. And she hit him good. You can tell that damn wine went right in his eye. He was trying to, you know, wink it out and shit. And wine is pouring down his clothes. And she takes some red wine. She goes to dump that on him. He grabs her hand and some of the wine splashes back on her. Then she gets up trying to swing on Ray J, and Ray J's trying to walk away, and she's trying to hit him, and all of a sudden Ray J just said, boop! Push that bitch into the pool. She fell into the water like Princess and the damn Frog. I fell the hell out. She popped her head up. She's like, I'm about to whoop his ass. She jumps up out the pool. Security had to pull out the pool. That shit was so damn funny. Then she goes running like she's about to charge Ray J and beat his ass. And Ray J turns around. He's just like, you're not going to do nothing. And then he goes walking up in the house, and she's just flipping out, soaking wet. That had to be the most embarrassing moment I've ever seen on Ratchet reality television. That shit was funny as hell because she was being the aggressor, and he was just like, boop! And her ass went straight into that damn pool. I'm like, Ray J ain't shit for pushing her into that pool. That shit was so damn funny. I was cracking up last night. So anyways, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts of this week's episode 11 Hip Hop Hollywood, aka The Bold and the Ratchet. And if you're not following me, make sure you follow me. I am at LovelyT on Twitter, and I'm LovelyT2002 on Instagram. And go ahead and leave a comment. All right, deuces.